Have you ever been in that place where you look at your life and say, God, I've done everything I can, but nothing seems to be moving? You've worked hard, prayed harder, waited longer, and yet it feels like heaven has been silent. Bills piling up, doors closing, people promising to help and disappearing the next moment. You start to wonder, maybe this is it. Maybe God has forgotten me. But what if I told you He hasn't forgotten you? He's positioning you. What if the delay you're experiencing is not denial, but divine timing? You see, God's blessings don't always arrive through logic. They show up through favor, and the favor that's coming your way is about to surprise you. God is about to release something into your life that you didn't even see coming. Financial breakthroughs, opportunities, open doors, help from places you never expected. The kind of help that makes you say, that had to be God. So if you're tired, if you've been waiting, if you've been crying in secret, this is your confirmation. Help is on the way. The money you never saw coming is already being prepared with your name on it. You know, sometimes we think we have God all figured out. We plan our lives like a map. If I work this job, save this much, follow this timeline, everything will fall into place. But then life interrupts our plans. Something breaks down, something falls apart, someone walks away, and suddenly the plan doesn't make sense anymore. It's in those moments when nothing is adding up that God quietly begins to multiply behind the scenes. See, God has a way of releasing provision in ways that completely confuse human logic. He doesn't always bless you according to your paycheck. He blesses you according to your faith check. There are people who have prayed and worked tirelessly, and still the door stayed closed, not because they weren't qualified, but because God wanted the timing to testify, not the effort. There's something sacred about the moment when you're out of options, because that's the exact moment heaven steps in. Think about it. When the Israelites were trapped between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea, there was no way forward, no way backward, no escape. And that's when God said, "Now I'll make a way through the sea." He didn't make a way around it. He made a way through it. That's what unexpected provision looks like. Not avoiding the problem, but creating a miracle in the middle of it. Sometimes you'll be standing in the middle of a storm and you won't even see that provision has already started flowing towards you. You'll think nothing is happening, but God has already spoken to someone about you, someone you don't even know yet, someone who doesn't even realize they're about to be part of your miracle. God is whispering your name in rooms you've never entered, placing your need on hearts that have the power to change your situation. There's a reason why it's called unexpected provision, because if you could see it coming, it wouldn't build your faith. If you could plan it, it wouldn't stretch your trust. God hides blessings behind impossible situations so that when it happens, you know it wasn't coincidence. It was divine orchestration. Some of you right now are in a season where everything looks silent. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've stayed strong, and still nothing seems to be shifting. But let me tell you this, just because you can't see movement doesn't mean there isn't momentum. The seed grows underground before it ever breaks the surface. What God is preparing for you is happening out of sight, but not out of reach. And sometimes God will even let certain things be taken away, not to punish you, but to position you. Because if you had everything you wanted when you wanted it, you would have missed the miracle of depending on Him. It's when you're empty-handed that you learn what it means to be filled by faith. And when you least expect it, when you've stopped calculating and started trusting, provision shows up. Maybe it's a financial blessing that comes out of nowhere, a job offer, a refund, an opportunity, a favor, a yes, where you only expected a no. Or maybe it's emotional provision. Peace in the middle of chaos, strength when you thought you couldn't take one more step. God's provision doesn't always look like money. Sometimes it's clarity, sometimes it's courage, sometimes it's the right person showing up at the right time. The truth is, God never promised that we wouldn't face lack, but He did promise that He would provide in the lack. The widow in the Bible had nothing but a little oil left, just a small jar, something insignificant. But that's what God used to perform a miracle that paid her debt and sustained her household. You may feel like you've only got a little left, a little energy, a little faith, a little hope. But God specializes in multiplying what's little until it becomes more than enough. You might not see the path ahead, but that's okay. You don't need to. Your only job is to trust that God already made one. Every setback is secretly a setup for something greater. Every closed door is God redirecting your steps toward the door that will never close again. So don't be surprised when help comes from an unexpected place. Don't be shocked when a stranger becomes your answer. Don't underestimate what God can do in a single day, because the same way your situation can fall apart overnight, it can also turn around overnight. Your waiting has not been wasted. Every tear, every prayer, every sleepless night, heaven saw it. And now the season is shifting. God is releasing provision that will not just meet your need, but exceed your expectations. Sometimes the help you're waiting for isn't wrapped in money, a promotion, or a check in the mail. It's wrapped in a person, a conversation, a moment of alignment that seems so ordinary, you almost miss that it's divine. Because when God wants to bless you, He doesn't always send things, He sends people. There are connections you can't plan, can't force, can't network your way into. These are divine alignments, moments where heaven coordinates your steps so precisely that you end up in the right place, at the right time, with the right person. And suddenly everything changes. You see, one divine connection can open a door that years of effort couldn't. You can spend a lifetime trying to make people notice you, trying to prove your worth, trying to be in the right circle, and still end up exhausted. But when God breathes on your name, He'll cause the right people to see you without you having to chase them. That's favor. That's divine strategy. There's a story in the Bible about Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison. It looked like every connection was broken. But one day, one person remembered him, the cupbearer, mentioned Joseph's name to Pharaoh, and in a single conversation, Joseph went from the prison to the palace. That's the power of a divine connection. You don't need everyone to like you. You just need the right one to speak your name at the right time. Sometimes God will even remove certain people from your life. Not because He's punishing you, but because they were never meant to unlock your next level. Some doors require a different set of keys, and some seasons require a different set of people. Stop crying over who left. Stop replaying the loss. The same God who allowed some connections to fade away is preparing new ones that will move you further than you've ever been. Divine connections are not just about opportunity. They're about destiny. When God joins two paths together, it's never random, it's purposeful. Think about Ruth, a widow in a foreign land, broken and uncertain about her future. Yet her path crossed with Boaz, and that one encounter changed everything. She wasn't chasing status, she was simply walking in obedience. That's when God aligned her destiny with favor she didn't even know existed. That's what divine connections do. They take you from obscurity to visibility. They take you from overlooked to chosen. And the beauty of it is, you don't have to force it. You just have to flow with it. God knows who needs to meet you. He knows whose heart to move, whose mind to open, whose spirit to recognize what you carry. You don't have to beg anyone to see your value. Divine favor will do the talking for you. You might be one introduction away from the breakthrough you've been praying for. One conversation away from the opportunity that changes your financial situation. One moment of obedience away from the door that no amount of money could have opened. That's why you have to stay ready. Not desperate, but ready. Because when the connection comes, it will happen fast. One day, you'll be praying for help. The next, you'll be standing in the answer. And when it happens, you'll look back and realize it was never luck. It was alignment. It was God's timing connecting you to God's people for God's purpose. Sometimes the favor you need is not in your bank account. It's in someone else's heart. God can place your name in their spirit, your dream in their conversation, your need in their vision, and they won't even know why they're thinking about you, helping you, or choosing you. But you'll know it's divine. So instead of chasing opportunities, chase alignment. Instead of begging for open doors, prepare for the right key. Because when the time is right, God will introduce you to people who won't compete with your calling. They'll complement it. They won't drain your spirit. They'll confirm it. They won't pull you backward. They'll propel you forward. And here's the most beautiful part. Divine connections don't just bless you. They bless everyone connected to you. The favor that flows through you will overflow to those around you. So hold on, because heaven is aligning names, places, and faces right now. You're about to meet people who will unlock things in your life that money could never buy. There are moments in life when you feel like you've prayed every prayer, spoken every declaration, and yet nothing is shifting. You keep asking, God, when will you bless me? When will this season finally change? But sometimes the answer isn't about when, it's about what. What have you not yet done that God has already asked of you? Because the truth is, the blessing doesn't come through wishing. It comes through obedience. Obedience is one of the most powerful spiritual principles there is. It's not glamorous, it's not loud, it doesn't always make sense. In fact, it often feels uncomfortable, risky, and even unfair. But obedience is the bridge between where you are and what God promised. You can't pray your way around obedience, you have to walk your way through it. There are things God wants to release into your life, but He's waiting for your yes. Sometimes that yes is simple. Forgive that person. Let go of that resentment. Trust me with that plan. Move in faith when it doesn't make sense. Other times it's bigger. Leave that job. Step out of that comfort zone. Sow into someone else's need while you're still waiting for your own. Obedience will often stretch you beyond what feels logical. But that's because God's blessing is not built on logic. It's built on trust. Think about Noah. God told him to build an ark when there wasn't a single drop of rain. People mocked him, called him crazy, questioned his sanity. But Noah obeyed. He didn't have proof. He had a promise. And because he obeyed, his obedience became the foundation for salvation. Not just for himself, but for generations. That's how powerful obedience is. It doesn't just bless you, it blesses everything connected to you. When you choose obedience, you choose faith over fear. You choose destiny over doubt. And every time you take that step, even if it's shaky, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart hesitates, heaven takes notice. Because God can do more with one act of obedience than you can do with 1,000 plans. Sometimes we wait for God to move, while God is waiting for us to move. We say, God, open the door. And He says, take the step. We say, God, provide. And He says, trust me first. Obedience unlocks what prayer prepares. It's like planting a seed. You can pray for rain all you want, but if the seed isn't in the ground, there's nothing for God to grow. Your action activates His abundance. And let's be honest, obedience isn't always easy. It often feels like surrendering control. It means letting go of what feels safe to step into what feels uncertain. But it's in those moments of surrender that your breakthrough begins. Because obedience isn't about understanding God's plan. It's about trusting His heart. Abraham had to obey when God told him to leave his home, his land, everything familiar, and go to a place he'd never seen. Imagine that. No map, no direction, no GPS, just faith. But because he obeyed, he became the father of nations. God didn't give him all the details, He gave him a direction. And that direction was enough, because obedience always attracts blessing. Maybe right now, God is asking you to do something uncomfortable. To forgive someone who hurt you deeply, to release control of a situation, to give even when you're struggling, to take a leap of faith when fear is screaming no. It won't always make sense in the moment, but obedience rarely does. The thing is, your next miracle might be hidden inside that act of obedience. When the servants at the wedding in Cana obeyed Jesus and filled the jars with water, the water turned to wine. But notice, the miracle didn't happen until they obeyed. They didn't understand it, they just did it. And that's when transformation took place. Sometimes God will tell you to do something that doesn't make sense, not to confuse you, but to position you. Your obedience tells heaven, I trust you, even when I don't see it. And that's the moment things begin to shift. The blessing isn't waiting for next year or next season. It's waiting for your obedience now. Maybe God has already given you an instruction to start something, end something, say something, give something, or simply believe again. Don't delay your destiny by hesitating in obedience. Every time you say yes to God, a new door opens. Every time you surrender your will, a new level of favor unfolds. You see, blessings aren't random. They're responsive. They respond to your faith. They respond to your obedience. The moment you act on what God said, heaven moves in your direction. So if you're wondering when things will start shifting, maybe it starts with you. Maybe it starts with that quiet decision in your heart to obey, even when it's hard. Because obedience is the sound of faith in motion. It's the language heaven understands. You've got to understand, God never forgets the seeds you've planted in faith. Every tear, every prayer, every moment of obedience has been recorded in heaven. You may not see the full picture right now, but the moment you align your heart with His will, the release begins. God is not limited by your resources, your background, or your timing. When He decides to bless you, no system, no person, no circumstance can stop it. The money you never saw coming, It's already being directed toward you. The help you've been praying for, it's already on its way. But it won't always come dressed the way you expect. It will come through unexpected provision, divine connections, and simple acts of obedience. God is teaching you that you don't have to chase blessings. You have to trust Him. Because when you trust Him enough to obey, even when it makes no sense, heaven responds. The favor that's coming won't just meet your needs, it'll exceed your expectations. You'll look back and realize that the struggle wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. Every delay was divine. Every closed door was protection. Every silent season was God building your foundation for something greater. You are stepping into a season where doors will open without you knocking, where blessings will locate you without you searching, where what you lost will return multiplied. God is not finished with you. He's just getting started. So hold your head high. Walk in faith, not fear. Keep your heart obedient, your spirit humble, and your hands open. Because what's coming next won't be earned by effort. It'll be released by favor. This is your confirmation. God is releasing what you never saw coming. The money, the opportunity, the people, the peace. It's already on its way. Just stay faithful, stay expectant, stay obedient.